Hello and welcome to another episode of Teaching with Inquiry Live. Tonight it's a little bit different. I am coming to you live from Austin, Texas. I am in Austin this week because I am here for the Teachers Pay Teachers Conference. It's their annual conference that they have all over the United States. I've been to Vegas and California and Orlando. This is my fourth conference and fifth conference. And this year I have the honor of speaking here at the conference, and I'm sharing with other sellers my journey as a TPT seller. So yesterday I posted on both Instagram and Facebook about whether or not you have ever considered becoming a teacher author on TPT. And on Instagram, overwhelmingly, it was a bit tied on Facebook, but on Instagram, overwhelmingly 71% of people who participated in the poll said that they were interested in becoming TPT sellers or had thought about it. So I thought, considering I'm here in Austin with a community of other TPT sellers, that I would take my opportunity tonight to go live and talk about what it takes to become a teacher author here on TPT and to decide whether or not this is something that you want to give a try, or whether maybe this is something you want to run away from screaming and it's maybe something you have never considered before. So if you are new to Teaching with Inquiry Live, even though we're not talking about inquiry, I might work it in here or there, but we're not talking about inquiry tonight. But if you are new to the show, my name is Patty and I am a grade 5 teacher in Ontario, Canada. For the last 7 years, I've actually taught a 4-5 split, but for the first time ever, I'm going to have a straight grade 5, so I'm pretty excited about that. And I come live every single Monday night around 9 o'clock to talk about what it means to teach with inquiry in your classroom. And I hope that through this show, I can help to demystify some of those things about using inquiry and make it more accessible and fun for both you and your students. So let's get right into it. Should you be a TPT author? And as I'm talking tonight, if you have any questions before we get started, if you've got any questions that you have for me and want me to answer, throw them up in the comments here, and I can see your comments here on my screen. So throw them up there and I will be able to get to them tonight during the live show. Okay? So, should you be a TPT author? Well, that's complicated, and it really kind of depends on you and what you are looking for as a teacher and whether or not it's a good fit with what you're willing to do and what you're interested in doing. So it's got to be right for you. So I'm going to talk about all of the different aspects that are going to becoming a teacher author on TPT, and then at the end you can decide whether or not that's right for you. So some of the reasons why I absolutely love being a teacher author with TPT is, number one, I am somebody who has always needed a creative outlet. When I was a kid, I would plan plays and force my brother to participate in them, and I was always doing something creative. And sometimes teaching it has a creative element to it, but sometimes it doesn't always feel as creative. So becoming a teacher author and designing activities and looking at font and color choices when you're making products and how to put things together has definitely been something that I've really enjoyed about it. So for me, creating resources has been that creative outlet. It's my ability to express my thoughts and ideas that I really value, because sometimes I don't get that in other aspects. Also, when I was a beginning teacher and I started on my TPT journey in 2012, and one of the things that TPT did for me is it justified the amount of time that I was spending planning. So if I was spending my evenings planning, sometimes my husband might have been a bit resentful about the amount of time that I was spending planning for my own classroom in the evenings and weekends, which he saw as part of our time. So when I began to put things on TPT, it allowed me to justify some of that time that I was spending at home in a way that allowed me to share those resources with other people. There's also another part of me other than the creative side that's always felt like maybe I needed to have like an entrepreneurial journey. And this has been something that has been surprising for me. I never thought getting into becoming a teacher author would make me feel like an entrepreneur, but it definitely has. And that has been something that I've surprising, but actually really enjoyed when I think about TPT is a business. It's not just something that I'm doing for fun. I do try to run it like it is my own business. So that's filled that need for me, and especially growing up as the daughter of an entrepreneur, being able to apply some of those things I saw my dad doing and still doing has been really interesting, and I've been able to connect with him on a different level now as well, which has been kind of cool. Another great aspect of why I love being a TPT author is community. There is such an amazing community of teacher authors, and I've gotten to know teachers from across North America and a few from across the pond over the years, and we've really built a nice supportive core community with other sellers, and some of these people have become my very, very good friends, and I fly across the country across to another country in Austin, and I see them every single year. So being able to catch up with people that I know online and knowing that I have people I can talk to that are troubleshooting some of the same things and same problems, and they have some of the similar interests, the level of community is absolutely amazing. And the energy here in Austin right now is just out of this world. The front lobby at the hotel here is so loud and noisy with lady voices because everyone's meeting all of these people that they have never maybe met in real life, but they're meeting here. And that's just an amazing part that I think keeps me motivated, because I love the community that is built. It's also made me a better teacher. Having to really think through the curriculum of what we are teaching in our classrooms all the time, it's made me really think through it at a deeper level. I've had to get to know the curriculum really well, and I've had to think about how I can puzzle piece different things together and how I could figure that out, and how relating some of the things that I'm doing in the classroom to how I can help other teachers has really helped me to refine what it is that I'm doing in my own classroom, and then being able to share it out. And that leads me to the last and probably the most important reason why I love being a TPT person, especially one of the reasons why I love coming live every single Monday night, is the ability to connect with other teachers. So I teach in a small school, and I am the only junior English teacher in my school. We have some French immersion teachers, and they are lovely, wonderful people, but they're not teaching in English. And sometimes I look at the community of people I know in the Ontario Facebook groups, as well as other teachers that have come in contact with me and emailed me and sent me DMs and messages on Facebook, and the ability to chat with you all of the time, that level of community. And it's almost like there's a little learning network that has been created with these, as we're all talking about things that we're doing in our classroom. And it's definitely talking to all of you every single week and through Facebook groups has definitely been an amazing benefit, because I feel like I've gotten to know teaching partners that I've never actually met in real life and never taught with. So those are some of the reasons why I love being a TPT author. And I think if those sound appealing to you, then just wait and I'll get through some of the things that maybe you didn't think about before you considered being a TPT author. So what does it mean to sell on TPT? When I first started in 2012, there wasn't very as many teacher authors out there. So the quality necessarily of TPT may not have been to the same level it is now. It's definitely gotten harder to start out on Teachers Pay Teachers than it had when I started. There's more teacher authors selling the same kind of stuff that you might be making or using in your classroom. And it can't simply just be the stuff that you use in your classroom. Maybe at one point it could, but it can't anymore. The expectation of the people buying things on TPT is that if they're spending their money, that the quality has to be there. So it can't, the quality sometimes that we make, say in a Word document, and we might type out a test in a Word document and then hand that out to our class. That's the product, but you also need the instructions so that people in their classroom know what is expected and how to use it, and you have to get them to help them think like you are thinking so that they can implement it effectively in their classroom. So you have to take everything that you're making to your classroom and think of it at a much deeper level and a more extensive level. So it has to be a better quality piece than maybe you might create just to use in your own classroom. And it has to be completely original content, and you have to really kind of add a lot more to it. So at this point now, the resources that I am making, I make them primarily for Teachers Pay Teachers, and then I use them in my classroom when they fit for my students. So I do use my resources in my classroom, but when I make them first for TPT. That's the purpose. So they're not something that I've just used and then thrown up there. They're a lot different from that. The products that you're making also, the expectation is they're polished and professional. So that means that you've got to put some money into it in order to make a resource. So you have to pay for clip art. You can't just use clip art that you find online. You actually have to pay for commercial licenses of all of the clip art that you are using. And that can run, if you're looking for one or two, a set of clip art could run anywhere from $5 to $10 depending on the set. So that would be a $5 and $10 purchase to use that clip art in one product. Or if you're going to reuse it, you can use it in multiple products. You also can't simply just use the regular fonts that you use. You actually have to buy commercial licenses. So there's personal use licenses, but when you use something that you're planning on selling to others, you need to have commercial licenses. So for people like Kimberly Geswin or Perfect Blend fonts, those will cost you about $5 per font. And you can use them in any of the products that you create, but you do have to pay for a license to use those fonts. You're also looking at these stock photos. So these are all professionally taken photos that you can buy, and these range anywhere from $1 to $5 per photo. So in some of my resources that have wonder walls in them, so my science and social studies units that have, say, 8 to 40 wonder wall cards in them, that each one of those photos on those Wonderwall cards will cost anywhere between $1 and $5 to purchase. So there is a cost, and often some of these costs are going to outweigh how much you might sell one resource for. So you do have to try to sell multiple resources to recoup the cost of what you're putting into it in terms of how much it costs you to make that. You also need to pay professional editors to go through your things. So unless you are a really good editor yourself, that's not something that I can do for my own products. I fall asleep. It bores me, so I'm not good at it. I try, and I will fall asleep with the computer on my lap when I try to edit. So I will pay a professional editor to edit my work, and this is an additional cost as well that can range, say, about $40 for 100 pages of editing that they're doing, and that's on a conservative level. There also is going to be technology purchases that you would have to do as well. So these are some of the upfront costs of doing the business as well. So you can't use the computer that your employer gives you. In fact, you can't use any of the resources or technology that your employer gives you, because this is a job that is separate from your employer, from the school board. So you need to have all of your own equipment. None of the technology or resources can be used from your employer as well. So if you are currently using school board provided materials, then you would have to purchase your own materials, or so your own computer, make sure you have your own phone. I think most teachers probably are paying for their own phone. But it does mean that I need to have a really strong, I use my cell phone to take a lot of photos for either Instagram or Facebook or even for some of my product photos. So those photos are taken on my phone. So I actually have to have a pretty good camera on my phone so that I have the capability to take a higher quality photograph. And if you're good with a DSLR, I know a lot of people own a DSLR. I own one. I'm not such a great photographer with one, but I do own one. So those are some of the things you have to do. Beyond that, there's courses, because we're teachers, not business people. So there's a lot of things at running a business that you might not know how to do, like how to pin and use Pinterest as a person who's trying to sell resources, not just somebody who is pinning their greatest idea. And there's strategy with that, and there are different best practices to follow as well. So learning how to do that often requires you to take courses to figure that out, because it's definitely not something that I learned in my undergrad. I did not go to business school. I don't know I don't have a formal education in business, so I've had to spend some money on courses to figure out how to run the business. And that also includes things like accountants and lawyers as well, to figure out how to pay your taxes and to deal with any legal stuff. Now, the legal stuff that comes in is copyright, and this is a big one. And this is a big one that a lot of new people, as they're getting into, overlook. It's totally different in your classroom when you are making something in your classroom, and it all falls under fair use, because as teachers, we have this special exception under copyright that we can use things in our own classrooms under fair use. So we can photocopy, if we've got a textbook, we can photocopy the textbook and use it in our classroom. The difference comes when you are selling it. Then you're not using it for personal use anymore, but you're using it for commercial use. Once you start using things as commercial use, it becomes really sticky legally. So you have to make sure that none of your resources are from previously published textbooks, that you cannot use trademarked or licensed images. So you can't make something with Seuss or Pete the Cat or Daily Cafe. There's a lot of rules with different authors who own trademarks about how you can and cannot use their things. So figuring out what to do and how to make them is different. You can't just pull articles off of the web and use them. You can link to them, but you can't include them in your resource. So there's a lot of copyright issues that I think people at the beginning overlook, because there is a difference between what you can use in your classroom and what you can't. So in my classroom, if I'm making something for my classroom, I can totally go on Google image search and pull an image off of there and throw it on something that I'm just using in my classroom. I mean, I might not be able to, but no one's going to say anything. But the minute I try to sell that, I'm now violating someone's copyright, and you might get a letter or two from a lawyer that's not so happy with you if you go ahead and try to sell somebody else's intellectual property that doesn't belong to you. And there have been instances where people have done that on Teachers Pay Teachers, where they have taken textbook work and they have taken things that they've been inspired by other things they found on TPT, and they do sell them and they do make money, but it's not really the most ethical practice, and certainly not something that gets you respect. It also does technically violate our ethical responsibilities as teachers. So we do have to be kind of careful there with that aspect. So those are some of the things that go into being a TPT. So there is a cost to running this business. And there are some things that you need to consider, because your quality of resources do need to be up. Now, when I was asking a few other sellers this evening, what advice would you give to somebody if they wanted to start a TPT business? And here's what they said to me: is don't take for granted how much work goes into making a resource. This is not simply a part-time job that you do on the side, but really starting a business as a TPT author for all of the benefits of your creativity and your ability to feel like you own something and you're making a difference in classrooms, for all of that, you also have to remember that that comes at a sacrifice of other things in your life. So it comes at a sacrifice of your time. You might not have as much free time to do things because you have to dedicate those times outside of school hours, because you cannot work on TPT during school hours because, again, that's a conflict of interest. So you have to work on it outside of TPT hours. You have to do it on your own time, and it often means that you're sacrificing your evening time. And I don't choose to sacrifice the time with my kids, so I do have my evenings with my kids, but I take my weekends and I also take my summers, which means that my kids are in camp and they're loving it, but they're in camp while I'm working at my job, which is my second job, which is also to be a TPT author for Madly Learning. So it really forces you to figure out how to balance your time and do things efficiently so that you have time to do it all and you are there for, if you're a mom and you are there for your kids. It does give you, you do make money on TPT. You can, there are sellers that make $10 a week. There's people that make $100 a week. There's people that make thousands of dollars a week. And the income potential is really predictive on how much you are willing to put your time into, and the effort and the length of time that you are willing to put into before you make that. It's definitely TPT, although it sounds like, oh, I could make some money selling resources. Certainly not something that you can make money with right away. It's something that takes time to put into making that money, but you can make money, whether it's coffee money or vacation money or enough money to quit your job kind of money. There's quite a variation in the hundreds of thousands. There's more than several 100,000 sellers on TPT worldwide, and there's plenty of them that make no money and make over $1 million. So there is money to be made, but it takes a lot of work, and very, very few people will hit that top tier. So it's certainly not a get-rich-quick scheme. For me, all of those sacrifices are worth it. And all of the time that I get to spend interacting with you and sharing ideas and hearing back from you that my resources have helped you to spend more time with your family and have helped you to save time of your own so that you aren't feeling quite so stressed and overwhelmed. That for me is probably the biggest reward of all, is hearing that something that I have created has been able to help you save time, cut that overwhelm, reduce your stress, help you figure things out when you just couldn't think of it. All of those have definitely been probably the number one reward for me in terms of selling on TV. So I'm really excited that I get to be here in Austin. And if TPT is something that you are interested in doing and you have more questions, you maybe don't want to ask them publicly, feel free to send me a message on Facebook or through Instagram, and I would be happy to get back to you and answer any of those questions on what it is like, and to help you evaluate whether or not this is something that you think would be a great outlet for your creativity and your ideas and the ability to share all of your amazing knowledge with other people to help them out as well. So thank you so much for joining me tonight it's actually kind of dark and dreary today. It's raining, but in the lovely city of Austin, Texas. And I can't wait to connect with you even more when we'll be live again next Monday night when I'm back home enjoying our own Ontario sunshine. So thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you later. Bye, everybody. Happy summer.